program to bring you a special news bulletin. The Japanese have attacked Pearl Harbor, Hawaii by air, President Roosevelt has just announced.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
like I do. I don't know why I
My dearest sweetheart, I got your most recent letter today, and it just made me
Sweetie
miss you
gal,
too.
how I miss
The
you.
summer is so lonely without you, and I dream of the day the war finally ends.
Darling wife, all I think about is you and our little house.
I dreamt of you last night. It was almost too much to bear.
I'm gonna be fine. It's really not as bad as you may be hearing.
Sometimes I wake up in the night and think just for a second that you are lying here next to me.
The very first thing we're gonna do, well, after you know what, I want to buy some civilian clothes. Maybe one of those zoot suits I keep hearing about.
Soon, I hope and pray it won't be just a dream.
How I dream of that day.
Then we can be together again and start that family we've talked about. How does 3 or 4 kids sound to you?
Nothing's gonna keep me from coming back to you.
Hurry up and win this war so you can find your way back to me.
why I just do.
There's a somebody I'm longing to see. I hope that she turns out to be someone who'll watch over me. I'm a little someone to watch over me.
Welcome to Mountain View College. We're glad to have you aboard as a new employee.
Let's see if we can find the solution to your concerns one at a time. First, I can recommend some basic courses for you to take this semester based on information we already know.
Okay, the jobs, poverty, and what goes along with that, such things as health care, education, standard of living.
Hi, welcome to the Mountain View Library. In order to assist you with finding information, I'd like to invite you inside. If you'll come with me this way, please. And we'll show you how to use the microfiche catalog.
You can be part of the exciting world of aviation right here in Dallas at Mountain View College.
Dan is going to demonstrate on our computer graphic system our land profile program. Dan, can you show us how this program works?
I noticed that you have a lot of antique clocks in here. I know that people that are watching this might want to know if they can bring their own clock in. Do you do that kind of thing?
Yes, we do.
Mountain View College requires that you provide us scores from an ACT test, an SAT test, or to take our own tests.
Safety is a major thing to think about when working with robots.
Each community has attempted to create a utopia on Earth through separation from the world and mutual cooperation toward the goal of social harmony.
They were a party of English separatists, revolutionaries within the Puritan movement in England, who had no faith in the ability or willingness of the Church of England to reform. Their hearty protests had made them a target of the Archbishop and the King's army, and many had fled to Holland, where they were free to worship as they chose. After 12 difficult years, however, they elected the option of relocating to New England, supported by articles of indenture for establishing an English settlement for the Virginia Company in London. They secured their meager belongings on 2 vessels in mid-September, but after the Goodspeed foundered, they were forced to make their passage on the much smaller Mayflower. Their ship's master, Christopher Jones, was a most experienced sea captain who had sailed the North Atlantic. He knew the previously charted coastline and had the respect of his sailors. It was respect not extended, however, to their cargo of 102 separatists who were crowded together in the holds of the small vessel. Their meager provisions were subject to the rats and ruin of seawater. The Mayflower arrived along the New England coast in mid-November, far north of their intended Virginia, and some 65 days after they had set sail from England. For days, a small body of men had explored the rugged coastline of Cape Cod, looking for a site to establish a settlement, a place with access to a safe harbor and one with fresh water. They stepped ashore on December 11, 1620, at the site they would call Plymouth, named for their place of departure 4 months earlier. A line of reefs stretched away from the shore, breaking up the pounding waves of the ocean. On the rise of bluffs above the harbor, the colonists erected their first common house, the first of their dwellings, modeled on the simple architecture and the style of their native England. In time, their small colony would be surrounded by and incorporated into the larger Massachusetts Bay Colony, founded at Boston in 1630, some 20 miles to the north. But Plymouth Colony survived as a haven for the pilgrims who had sought freedom to practice their faith, untroubled by the politics of the Church of England that had threatened to destroy them a decade earlier. Where they settled is marked today by their graves and those of the generations that followed, crowding the crest of the site where the fort once stood, and were stretched the dusty lanes along which they erected their thatched-roofed homes. Crowning the sagging markers is an obelisk that marks the grave for the ashes of William Bradford, colonial chronicler and author of Plymouth Plantation. From the age of 30, the self-educated Bradford served as their beloved governor for 33 years. Today, visitors to Cape Cod can return in time to the year 1627, 7 years after the founding of the colony, to visit the reconstructed settlement, carefully maintained in its historical accuracy by a company of reenactors dedicated to preserving one of the most significant windows into America's colonial past.
Sarah, let me introduce a student group from Mountain View College.
Well met.
And we are delighted to have you with us again.
I am glad to meet you as well. So you have traveled a fair distance then to come here.
Well, we did.
And how have you found it so far? Did you just arrive in the town?
We just arrived in the town. We just walked in.
Here in New Plymouth, Ah, well, then you must look about a bit. But let me tell you a bit about myself, for I am not one of those that have come here.
Seen Master Sibsy out labouring with his servants sometime, yeah? Master Phil's, I've not seen him so much amongst the fields. Yeah, he is...
He's a curious man.
So is there any adultery in the town?
No, I don't think so. It's too small a town. Not going to say that every babe that's born here is born 9 months after the wedding, but that they're betrothed, so it ain't. The fine for something like that is half of what it ordinarily would be.
So you're fined for that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And you got to find the father, too. I mean, in England, you really got, because otherwise it's a parish apprentice put under charge of the parish, so you got to find a man who's the father. And he can either be made to marry her, or if he can't, he can pay her a sum of money so that she can afford to keep the child, or he can pay a man to marry her.
Oh, wow. But he has to be responsible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know what they do to the whores down in London? They take them all, the whore and her mate, take them to Lambeth Marsh, and they tie them at the stairs, they tie them to the back of a boat and pull them all across Thames River all the way to Westminster. Imagine that cools them.
Hey, borrow your bucket.
Yeah,
Do you want to put some there? Yeah, do you want to put this to your garden? Because I've got the other one empty. I've got to go to the spring. Did you want to put some to your garden?
Oh, yeah.
You want me to take it?
Yeah, let me get a cup here. So is she laying wood to it already?
She will be. When I come back with the water in a coal pot.
Looks well over there. Yeah. But I did not plant it, certainly.
Now, what seed do you have here that you're just watering?
Borage.
Oh, borage.
Yeah, I was going to plant leeks, and then I found that my seed was not well. It had gotten some dampness to it. It's very cloudy looking.
I did plant leeks. They're not doing well, though. They didn't come up.
No?
I think it's the dryness.
They have.
You can't, for the seedlings, you can't keep so much water to the growing.
Yeah.
It's
in
great pots in some
spring
places.
myself.
Hi everybody, I'm James Behan. I'm one of the full-time art faculty at Mountain View College, and I am here today to take a look at a very fine painting, and I'm going to be focusing on the use of the elements and the principles. But we'll start with a little bit of a history. This is The Murder of Laius by Oedipus, and this painting was created by Joseph Blanc. Now we know it was a really popular painting when it was first presented because it won the Prix de Rome prize, which is kind of like winning a gold medal in the Olympics. He received 3 years of paid living and working in Rome. So this was, we know that this was a very popular painting. And one of the things we can look at is the elements and principles to see why it was so popular. Because there's a lot of stuff going on. First off, a little bit more about it. We know that it was painted at the tail end of the Romantic era, beginning into modernism. So with this painting, we see a lot of evidence of the neoclassical and also the romantic styles. So there's a whole lot going on. It's kind of like a mashup of different periods all in one. So it's at a real pivotal point in history. So first off, let's look at the construct of the painting. We can talk about lines. The lines we see, such as the arms and the legs and all the weapons and spears and everything, those are all very strong diagonals and curves. Now, as an artist, so I'm looking at the mind of Joseph as the artist, I know that diagonals and curves create a lot of action. Okay, a lot of turbulence. So this is a very dynamic scene. He's presenting that moment where one man is slain by another. So this has to be full of drama. So the lines, for example, support that. The next thing we can look at is value. Value is the degree of lightness and darkness. Now, there's both high key light on the figures, but also very dark moments in the image. So this is very dramatic lighting, almost theater-like, which creates, again, that heightened sense of drama. We can also look at shapes, and we see a lot of organic forms in the figures, and organic forms, again, create excitement and instability. But in the middle of everything, we see this huge triangle. Do you see the triangle with the two figures, the two main figures? And that triangle is sitting right in front of the image. And it's an implied shape. So it's not very present. It's kind of suggested by the figures. Now, for Joseph to put that triangle right in the middle of that painting, he knows that we like to look at triangles. We'll stare at them. And it creates a very solid composition, okay, without being too stuffy. One of the last things we want to talk about with regard to elements is the issue of color. It's kind of twofold what's going on here. It's called a naturalistic palette. So the color is the way we see. So it's very kind of warm and natural, and that makes us feel comfortable. But the four-color process that we see, the reds, the yellows, the greens, and the blues, make this what is called a full-color palette. And that, again, is very exciting. So based on the elements alone, we see a very fresh, exciting, turbulent scene being played out before us. Now with the composition, we can talk about, first off, the fact that it is called an open composition. An open composition means that the scene extends beyond the frame of the painting. So more is going on outside of the image. That type of composition, an open composition, creates a sense of instability and fear or excitement. So again, we see the artist using elements and principles to really kind of create and support the idea of drama. And the original audience that would have seen this painting would have responded to all these cues, just like we do today. The elements and principles are still used by artists everywhere. And lastly, what has happened to this painting since it was first exhibited? What we know again is this painting was at the tail end of Romanticism and the beginning of Modernism. So while it was really popular in its day, it's not as popular today because the paintings that we remember from the 1860s are the artists like Monet or Degas. It has a really special place as a transitional work of art between periods, but it's a work of art that tends to be looking back to Romanticism and Neoclassical rather than looking forward.
Stick to the lines.
Where'd he go?
I don't know.
Well, I'll get the others.
Don't worry, no one can see it shoot at this point, okay? Don't worry about it. That's another shot. You're doing great. Okay, please.
This time I'm going to use the water gun.
Just get down there. Okay. Take two, and action.
Oh! Brian! I'm going to tell Mom. Oh! Brian, I'm going to tell Mom.
If you go away, I'll give you a new bike.
Brian, if you don't leave, I'm going to cream you.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care.
Hey, kid. How about a Dublin chocolate bar?
Timothy, until I can present to you that which I have promised. Sir, I am life. Celia, go to the man who bought you. No! There is the captain. Captain, here is your virgin.
Oh, and well worth the wait. Out of the joy of this great occasion, forgiveness. Sir, you are free. Free to be a slave.
I don't understand. There was the ring. The ring with the dangle of keys.
What did you say, old man?
The ring!
Father!
How long have you had this?
I've had this since. I don't know when I've had this since.
Daughter! My sister!
Did you hear that?
Silence! Stand back, everyone.
Oh, except for you.
I fear, old man. I take it your daughter was freeborn.
Without a doubt.
Lycus, as all of us know, the penalty for selling a freeborn citizen is to be trampled to death by a water buffalo in heat. Seize him.
Oh, the captain. I'm a bleeder.
Bring out those girls. I told you this was a comedy. Hero!
Mother, I wish to marry. Son, if you're only as happy as your mother and I, my heart will bleed for you.
Something for everyone. Mother and father get one another.
Something for everyone.
A tragedy tonight.
I get the twins, they get the best.
I get a family.
I get a rat.
You girls. I get some new girls.
I get the thing I want to be.
Alright, I call this meeting to order at 2.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now pledge to the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one and indivisible.
All right, so y'all know we're leaving at 10 o'clock Thursday morning. Load the vans at 10. Don't be late. Any questions? All right.
Alright, seeing none, let's move on to old business.
Point of inquiry?
Member recognized.
Ramiro Luna, whenever you say old business, how far back do you want to go?
Well,
Houston on Thursday at 10 o'clock.
We're riding the vans. Alright, take 3.
Yeah.
That's Matt. Oh, God speaks to you. Yes. He tells you exactly what's right and what's wrong. Yes. And you act accordingly. Yes. So you, Matthew Harrison Brady, through oratory, legislation, or whatever, and Brady tells the rest of the world. Brady, 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 almighty.
The Lord is my strength.
Suppose a lesser man, a Cates or a Darwin, has the audacity to think that God might whisper to him that an unbrady thought might still be holy. Must men go to prison because they are at odds with the self-appointed prophets? Extend the testaments. Let us have a book of Brady. We shall X the Pentateuch and slip you in neatly between Numbers and Deuteronomy.
My father, ladies and gentlemen, all of you know what I stand for, what I believe in. I believe in my testimony. The witness is excused. Deuteronomy, Judges, Ruth, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, Hosea. I believe in the Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Judges, Ruth.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Cindy Robles Perez and Hillary Clinton.
But I was actually the only one on that debate stage on Saturday who will commit to raising your wages and not your taxes. You know why? You know why? Because average Americans haven't had a wage increase in more than a decade. I don't see how you can be serious about raising working and middle-class families' incomes if you also want to slap new taxes on them, no matter what the taxes will pay for. Supporting working families also means taking on other challenges we face, like paying for college and managing student debt. And I have, as you heard from Cindy, I have plans to do both of those. I want to make college affordable again, and I want you to be able to refinance your debt and save thousands of dollars in order to be able to get on with your life. Going hand in hand with raising incomes, we need more good-paying jobs so that when you get your education, you can actually see all that hard work to get it rewarded. That's why I'm setting big goals for investing in clean energy, infrastructure, and manufacturing. You see, unlike our Republican friends, I actually do think climate change is real. Believe it's a great economic opportunity for us to create clean, renewable energy jobs and businesses. We will make change, and it'll be change that will continue to allow us as a nation to move toward that more perfect union. You know, I have this new granddaughter, and it's pretty amazing, and I obviously think about her all the time, but I think about her not only because I'm so thrilled to be part of her life, but because I really believe that every child, not just the granddaughter of a former president, every child in our country deserves the same chance to live up to his or her God-given potential. And when I think about her, I think about my own grandfather, who was a factory worker, came to this country as an immigrant, a child, went to work in the Scranton Lace Mills in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and worked hard, provide a good living for his family, and because he believed that life could be better for his sons if he did, and it was. You know, my dad got to go to college, and he worked, and then went into the Navy, and then came out and started a small business. And my mom had a very different life. She was basically abandoned and rejected by her parents, sent to live with grandparents who didn't want her, and by the age of 14, she was out on her own working as a housemaid in somebody's home. And, you know, when I think about the journeys that each of my parents made, I am often in awe because it was hard. Nothing was given to them, and my mother had to fight bitterness and resentment and be resilient and hopeful, and she did. And they both believed with all their hearts in the promise of America. Do we have problems? Yes, we do. But have we made progress? Yes, we have. And it really matters who we elect as to whether or not we continue to make that progress together. And so for me, I want to make sure that every child, the granddaughter of a factory worker or the grandson of a truck driver, has the same chances I had, and that my granddaughter will have. If you will help me, we will do it. We will win this election.
Excuse me, you just caught me with a mouthful here at our Mountain View College all-school picnic in our 20th anniversary year. What better way to end a celebration of the 20 years of service of Mountain View College to the people of Dallas than with good friends, music, dance, and hot dogs. We're just about at the end of another plateful of some of Birdie's best here at Mountain View College at our all-school picnic. I want to thank each of you for being with us today on our special 20th anniversary Kiva program. And I want to thank Dr. Bill J. Priest, Chancellor Emeritus of the Dallas County Community College District, for being with us as our special guest. But most important, I want to thank each of you who may be watching, who has been an important part of the life of Mountain View College during its first 2 decades of service. And we hope that you will continue to be with us and to contribute to the rich life of this institution in the next 2 decades. We hope also that you'll continue to be with us throughout the season on our future editions of Kiva. On behalf of Mountain View College and the Mountain View College community, I'm Jeff Grimes.
It's time.